Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another day, another episode of the Daily Grind. I'm your host, 30NSG, and on today's show, we're going to be talking about Grounded 2 roadmap reveals big plans for the co-op survival game in 2026. We're going to talk about Skill Up. We're going to watch his video talking about ignore all the hype and hate. Highguard needs a lot of work. We're also going to read an article talking about Highguard. Player count has already plummeted by 80%, but don't count it out yet. Okay. And then we also have Highguard Disastrous Development Cycle, a video from Ponder McNasty. So we're going to watch that as well. We do have a video of what patches or what updates are happening in Grounded 2 as well. And then we have a video of a game called Speedball. Official full gameplay overview trailer. It runs about 7 minutes long. I don't know what this game is. Speedball sounded like it reminded me of the old, what was that? The robot one back in the day. What the hell was that football game called? You know what I'm talking about, the old school guys. Okay. So I was like, Speedball. I looked at the picture. I was like, all right, let's watch it. Let's watch it, see what it is. If you guys like what I do, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. All right, so let's start off because this week is just, it's the last day of this week. Let's check in with Highguard's numbers. Highguard's numbers right now is 7,623. Water Bear is close. I mean, we're 1 day away. It got down to 4,000, I believe. So it could hit that 2,000 mark. It could hit that 2,000 mark for Water, but who knows? It's going to be close. Okay. Leading up to that, let's go to the first article. Highguard player count has already plummeted by 80%, but don't count it out yet. Because the camera messed up, I forgot to say good morning to you guys. What's going on? Good morning, Travis. Good morning, Jason, Eclipse, Roic, Kylo. Good morning. Did I say Roic? I don't even know anymore. Altern, good morning. Water Bear, good morning. Jesse Mack, good morning. Who am I missing? Good old Botrix. Mr. Z, what's going on? I thought it was the 30th. 30th for... Today's the 29th because Space Marines just came out today. Kyle says, you see the Nintendo censoring Dispatch for the Switch 2 release? I did see a tweet about it. Is that not popping up? Oh, that's another thing that's not working today, huh? Sweet. Why isn't my things popping up on screen? Awesome. Gotta love when things work, huh? Gotta love it. Is there a way to refresh it? Yeah, let's refresh and see if it... Nope, doesn't want to work. Fantastic. Maybe it's this one. Sweet. All right, well, no chat on the screen today, guys. Sorry about that. Gotta love OBS when it wants to work or it doesn't want to work. All right, Highguard player count has already plummeted to about 80%, but don't count it out yet. Dalton Cooper here. We're gonna tell the guys' names ahead of time, right? Just so we know. Okay, Highguard is a debut game for Wildlight Entertainment, has already experienced a huge decline in players, but it's still far too early to count it out. Highguard was the one last thing announcement at the Game Awards 2025, which is something that didn't really do the new live service game any favors. Putting it in the spot only led to disappointment and honestly didn't give the game a fair shot in the public eye, which many quick to compare it to PlayStation failed Concord experiment. Here's the thing. We talked about this last night. Sorry about the no stream last night, guys. I was over on Fake Wizard's channel with the Fake Wizard News. We were talking about Highguard, and I said on his show last night, I was like, what about if they didn't want the player base? They thought their player base, because, again, Shadow Drop, right? Take away the Game Awards. Maybe they didn't expect 100,000, right? Maybe they only expected 10,000. Maybe they only expected 20,000 people to try their game. And now they got that, right? They got the 97,000 people to try their game. And now they're down to what the player base basically would be, between like 2,000 to 10,000 or whatever it is. So maybe that's what it is. So I don't know. I'm trying to play fair here. You know what I mean? Like maybe it isn't a fail for them. Maybe it's still good for them because this is way more than they thought they were going to get originally. Now, it is a unfinished game, and we can all agree with that. Now, one of the fascinating things about Highguard is how quick the release date would have come after its announcement. Highguard launched a little over a month after it's first revealed to the world. Despite the extreme online criticism leading up to the release, Highguard attraction thousands of players, ultimately overwhelming the games, leading to some of the serious technical issues and matchmaking problems that caused a review bomb. I got to write an article. I have to write a video about review bomb, because review bomb is, I swear to God, people don't know what the actual review bomb is. Okay? People are giving reviews of actual problems in the game. Because there's bad reviews doesn't mean it's review bombed. Among other reasons, like a simple fact that the game is a hero shooter. So as of writing this, they have 11,000. We saw it. It's 7,000 as of right now. Okay. Whether it was unfortunate technical issues at launch or negativity surrounding the game, Highguard's player count has already taken a massive hit. Upon release, Highguard peaked at 97,249 concurrent players. According to the data from SteamDB, the game's latest 24-hour peak has its at 19,296 concurrent players. This is a drop of about 80%. And if we go by who's currently playing the game at the time of writing this, it paints an even bleaker picture, as there's only 11,500 people online right now as of 2:30 p.m. Central Time on January 28th, so yesterday. While this also may worry those that actually like Highguard, it's not all doom and gloom. Keep in mind that Concord player count didn't even break 700 all-time peak, so Highguard is still widely more successful than that game. Are we serious right now? Are we serious right now? You're comparing it to Concord. You're like, well, Concord only had 697 people, so this is doing way better than Concord. Like, holy Christ! Like these journalists, man. I swear to God. Something that could also greatly in Highguard's favor is that the good free-to-play game, whereas Concord was $40, they need to stop comparing this game to one of the worst games to ever come out that only lasted 13 days. They need to just talk about the game and what the problems are. The problem is it's a 3v3 in a completely large-scale map. It's boring. It's slow. It's incomplete. Please report on what is actually happening in the game. It's not about we hate it because we hate it. The game is not done. I mean, holy shit. Highguard suffers from the same pitfalls that many other live service games do in terms of monetization. Yeah, and also not being done. Right? But the core gameplay is a lot of fun. With solid shooting actions, a unique Frankenstein monster FPS gimmicks, they all add up to an exhilarating experience. Exhilarating. There's literally 4.5 minutes of doing absolutely nothing in the beginning of the match. It's so slow, it's literally melatonin. You can fall asleep to watching this gameplay. Word of mouth will eventually turn Highguard's favor to draw more people into the game over time. Wildlight Entertainment, also aggressive post-launch plans for Highguard are having been clearly laid out. Highguard's 2026 roadmap suggests that they also are frequent substantial content updates for the game throughout the year, and with a new playable character added every other month, so alongside a ton of other content. Let's read that in depth here, right? It's not review bombing, guys. It's not review bombing. It's telling you what the game is, incomplete. Then they're like, well, the roadmap's going to be great. I also said this last night on Wizards News show that I think they have the first 2 seasons done. Like they have like 4 to 6 months worth of content done in this game. They're slowly going to release it. Okay. But the other 6 months going from summertime to Christmas, okay, they don't have done yet. And I don't think this game lasts till the next award show. I don't. I think they're going to get the stuff out. They're not going to see the numbers increase, and then they're just going to scrap it. Cut their losses. Okay? But that's just my thoughts. Okay, it says in the real major test here for Highguard is the potential to survive long-term will come this weekend. Highguard launched on a Monday, which is hardly a day for peak gaming hours. Look, I don't know what to tell you. They chose to release it on a Monday. They could have released it on a Friday. They could have released it on a Thursday, but they chose to do it on a Monday. This is their choice. Okay. Highguard launched on a Monday. Okay. And if Highguard update gets matchmaking and other technical problems under control, the game could very well enjoy a successful weekend and draws in new players and keeps current fans engaged. Well, if they make those changes, then it would also effectively say that there was problems, right? Considering nobody wants to admit the actual problems. Of course, it's also possible that Highguard's player count will continue to decline, and the game will eventually meet its same fate as Concord and other live service shooters that have shut down over the years. But even if that does happen, Highguard's player count is strong enough out there of the gate that it also should be able to survive a lot longer than Concord. Whether it was also the legs of something like Overwatch remains to be seen, but it's definitely be interesting to see how the game evolves in months to come. The fact that you have to prop this game up by shitting on the game that's gone in 13 days is astronomically fucked up. Okay? It really is. When you have to make Highguard up on a pedestal because you compare it to Concord is just mind-boggling to me. How about we just look at Highguard for what Highguard is instead of trying to compare and go, well, there's going to be an article on the 13th day. This game is better than Concord because it made it to the 13th day. Like, I don't understand. Just report and talk about the game and what the problems are in the game. The problems are not the people giving review bombs. The problem is that it didn't release on a Monday. Okay, the problem is that the game is incomplete. They put something out there and it's a boring game. I'm sorry. That's what it is. Right? You can like a boring game, people. People out there are liking the game. Great, fantastic. Like the game. But trying to put it up on a pedestal and try to force feed it down our throats to say, this is the greatest PvP game ever created because this is the makers of Titanfall and Apex Legends. Well, they don't even want to put that on their game anymore because they took that down off of Steam. Now it's just Highguard, right? Not from the developers of Apex, right? They probably made a phone call, right? They probably made a phone call. EA said, take the names out of your game. But you don't want to be associated with Highguard, so take Apex and take it off. Don't associate us with you because this game is gone. It's done. EA's got their own problems with stuff. They're like, we don't need ex-developers saying that they're part of Apex and Titanfall, right? But they completely got rid of it off of Steam. Why? I don't know. You're only as good as your last thing, and this is their last thing. Let's see if they put that on their resume on the next game they work on. From the makers of Highguard. No, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. Unless it's someone that needs the credit on their credentials, because they haven't worked in the industry long enough to put something else there. But that's the only reason they would show up on there. Otherwise, they would just take it off and put another thing there. But these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. What do you think is happening with Highguard's 80% plummet of player base? Let me know in the comment section. Let me know in the live chat. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe. And if you like what I do here, check out some of the other videos. Thanks for watching. What's going on, Mo? I don't know why. How do I fix that? Do I gotta make sure? Yeah, it doesn't want to show up. I'm trying to refresh. And it's just not doing it. Refresh cache. Yeah, it doesn't want to bring up the... That's a shame. All right, let me scroll back up and see what you guys are saying here. Roic says, do you think they frame this as an early access beta that could also try? It would also change the narrative. I think they're past that point, right? Because that would admit that they gave you a beta, not a complete game. They want you to think it's a complete game, Roic. Read bad reviews over Highguard. People leave it just hilarious to read. Yeah, it's crazy. Eclipse says, like I said, when I played it, it was good concept, but there's nothing to do after 30 minutes to an hour of playing it. Well, that would Fran Marabella on Twitter would disagree with you, Eclipse, because he says anyone that plays it over 5 hours gives it a positive rating. Alterm says the only exhilarating thing about the game is when you Alt F4. Jason says the FPS cowboy game with the horseback riding would be cool. Jason says error message over error message, etc. Great service, Highguard. Did they even test their own game before they released it? Let us beta test their game. This is a beta game. 100%. 100% is a beta game. Krebs says if Wildlight Jesus Christ, I can read. If Wildlight Highguard devs need to come back, make a spiritual successor of Titanfall. Aku says Highguard isn't being review bombed. Journos don't know what it means to report news anymore. No, they don't. They don't. All right, let me bring up. Oh, see, even chat's not even working over here. Something is wrong. Why is it not working? Let me see if I can refresh chat. Well, if that's not going to work, I guess I got to go like reinstall OBS. Something's happening. I don't know what to do. All right, let's go to Highguard Disastrous Development Cycle. Okay. This is a video from a gentleman. We've never watched his videos before, called Ponder McNasty. He's got 44,000 subscribers. If you guys like what I do here, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. All right, here we go.
This is Highguard in the prototype phase of development.
Thank God they didn't release something like this, huh? Thank God they didn't release this. It's almost just like this.
During this stage, the team behind the game, Wildlight Entertainment, didn't really know what type of game they would end up making. In the modern industry, the exiled studio formula is the new gold rush. It's not too uncommon for talent from legendary studios to leave, form their own thing, and have massive success. I mean, just taking a look at last year, we got Arc Raiders because the team splintered off from DICE, Dispatch from the folks behind the original Telltale games, and Expedition 33 with some of the staff from Ubisoft.
I forget when Arc Raiders and the finals came out, right? When the finals came out, did they say from the makers of, and then they put their old games, or did they just tell you the finals? Like, did the studio say from the old games, and then when Arc Raiders came out, did they say from the makers of like their past games from a different studio? I don't remember.
Soft. Highguard shares a similar formula to these.
Like, it's different if we say it. Like, oh, yeah, the Embark guys are from DICE, right? But if the Embark guys say, hey, our new game coming out, we're the makers of those games, I don't remember if they did that.
Games. When they closed out the Game Awards last year, the trailer very strategically opened with an homage to what the studio had done in the past.
Yeah, from the makers of Apex Legends and Titanfall.
So,
that does a little bit of injustice if you think about it, right? Because was it all the people that worked on Titanfall and Apex Legends? No. If there was like 200 people that worked on Apex Legends and Titanfall, and you have 37 of the 61 people that worked for the company and saying from the makers, like, did they just shove those people away and be like, no, those guys didn't actually make Titanfall and Apex Legends. We did. Do you know what I mean? Because now they said they are the makers of Apex Legends and Titanfall, but everybody else that worked on the game was like, hold on a second.
How did a studio that's led by the same people who brought us Modern Warfare 2, both Titanfall games, and Apex Legends end up creating a game that absolutely comes nowhere near any of those titles?
Probably, I'm just going to take a guess here. How do the people that made those games make a game like this? maybe the people that made those games weren't these people. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the people that were the better people that made those games well and work well are not all the people that came over here to make this work well. Maybe you got a really good art designer. Maybe you got a really good game coder. But the actual person that said, hey, that's not going to pass, didn't move over to this company, and that's missing. Hence why they released a beta.
What went wrong with Highguard? I'm Pounder McNasty, and I make development deep dives of your favorite video games.
We might have to go back and watch some of these videos. I never saw him before.
If you enjoy the content this channel has to offer, I'd appreciate it if you took a moment to hit subscribe. Today, we dive into the disastrous development of Highguard. Wildlight Entertainment, the studio behind Highguard, was officially formed in 2021. The studio was founded by Dusty Welch and Chad Greener, along with over 60 veterans from Respawn Entertainment.
No, that's wrong. Misinformation. It's not 60 people from all those games. We went through and looked at all of them. There's overlap. Apex Legends had 37 of those people. Titanfall had, I think there was like 12 people that worked on Titanfall.
Infinity Ward and Blizzard. Their primary mission was to create a remote-first environment where they can build a new IP without the compromise often forced by...
Oh, did they do this all remotely? Did they do this all remotely? Well, that would show a reason why you should all show up.
By major publishers like EA or Activision. They had formed the studio to get away from being siloed into one type of game. But this is where the first big mistake happened. They didn't really have a plan for what type of game they were going to make.
It's always a good start. Not having a plan, but just going about it.
So
what game did that before? Worked on it for 7 years. What was that game? Oh yeah, Anthem.
First thing that happened at the studio was defining what this game would be. Yes, it would be a shooter, since that's what they were good at. But beyond that, everything was up in the air. They didn't want the game to be in the sci-fi genre, so instead, they decided to go after the fantasy genre. And when you think of a shooter game, you don't often think of them being intertwined with fantasy. The team felt that they had perfected the battle royale and military shooter formulas with Titanfall and Modern Warfare. They formed Wildlight to experiment with a hybrid genre, what they call a PvP raid shooter. The goal was to blend the precision gunplay they're famous for with strategic siege mechanics and fantasy elements. The studio was set on taking some big risks, but anytime you try to take a
big risk of let's not complete the game and let's release it.
Risk as big as that, there has to be some form of risk mitigation. If you're set on being a fusion of two genres, you have to make sure that they complement each other. Otherwise, you end up making a title that doesn't really seem like it would fit in either setting. The biggest hurdle during development was defining the core loop. The team took inspiration from the high-stakes tension of raiding bases in Rust, but wanted to condense that 100-hour experience into a 30-minute...
Do you see how fast they're blowing up the walls? It's like, what's the point of reinforcing the walls if you could just blow them up super fast? Now, I understand they weren't reinforced, but there's so many walls, and in Rainbow Six, right? In Rainbow Six Siege, for that mechanic that they have, you're not blowing out entire walls. You're blowing out holes in the walls, right? So the wall's still there. You could break more of the wall. But in this, it's like you break one spot, the whole wall disappears, and it's like this giant gap through.
Match. According to lead designer Jason McCord, the game underwent massive iterations. Early builds repeatedly featured more players, but they whittled it down to a 3v3 structure.
I'm sorry, I'm going to rewind a little bit here.
The game underwent massive iterations. Early builds repeatedly featured more players, but they whittled it down to a 3v3.
Yeah, they had more players. We read that article yesterday, right? They read that article yesterday where they said that they had 8 teams of 3. Think about the map that you're seeing right now. 8 teams of 3, and they said, well, it just didn't work because no one was making any progression. Well, yeah, because there was just too many fucking teams. Remove the teams, okay, and then add the players. You could have removed 8 teams and kept the amount of people that were on the map the same, but just remove the teams. You could have had 3 teams, right? 3 teams of, I don't know, 5, maybe 6 people, right? Even 7. You could have had 3 teams of 7, right? But instead, you went from 8 teams of 3 to 2 teams of 3. Like, make it make sense. Did you try anything in between?
Structure. The rating mechanic is what they thought would be the most impactful, high-stakes moment in the match. But they didn't want every match to be high-stakes action.
Hold on.
The rating mechanic is what they thought would be the most impactful, high-stakes moment in the match. But they didn't want every match to be high-stakes action all the time.
So they added a boring part in the beginning.
This is something that players should build up to within a gameplay loop. Enter the open world. Since they wanted the raid phase to be something players would build up to, they decided to adapt what they've learned.
They literally made the maps big because they had bigger teams, right? And then they're like, well, the maps are too big, so we have to give them something. So they gave them mounts. Now, obviously, the mounts are there because they also can charge you more. Do you know what I mean? And then from that point, they can charge you more cosmetics and whatnot. And remember, you're buying cosmetics for a thing you can only see the head of, right? You're riding it. You can only see the front part of it in a first-person game. And then they're like, oh, but we need a reason to ride these mounts across this wide-open maps to do absolutely nothing.
From Apex Legends, where players land, look for loot, and continuously gear up. In Highguard, however, they wanted this phase to be well-defined, which is also where the game kind of fell short. That's the formula Wildlight Entertainment were set on making. A brand new live service multiplayer shooter that's going to have open world mechanics, have raid mechanics, and be 3v3.
Here's how you can change it super fast. Are you ready? Here's a quick breakdown of how you can change it super fast. You know how the sword appears in the center after a certain period of time after you get the resources? Why not make the first thing resources in the dead center? Sort of like when you're playing dodgeball or murder ball, whatever you want to call it, okay? Where every teams are both on both sides, and then they converge in the center to grab the ball, and whoever can grab the ball then pegs the other people, and you slowly eliminate the other team, right? And then you catch the ball, and then that person's out. How is it a kindergarten game has the better mechanics than a video game? So the way it could start is instead of putting the sword there and then it's whoever can do the raid breaker, you put the resources dead center. And then to mine the resources, you got to go to the center, and then these two guys are fighting and they're battling out for resources. And then when that first round's done, you have your resources, then that person goes and builds the base because you're trying to protect your base instead of, oh, I'm going to reinforce it now and then go forward and wait and twiddle my thumbs and get bored and then wait for the thing until the sword appears. And you constantly move the resources afterwards. So the first one appears in the middle. You fight for the resources. Then it knows that this team got more than this team. So then what it does, okay, is it moves the next resource point a little closer to the team that doesn't have as much. Then all of a sudden the next resource point happens, okay? And then they merge again and fight for more resources there. And then after a certain amount of time of resources, and they're all fighting, then the sword appears. And then whoever grabs the sword then goes into the second part of their thing. It's that first part, it's so boring.
And they were doing everything required for launching a giant multiplayer live service game themselves too. Without a massive publisher like EA to handle the infrastructure requirements, QA, server infrastructure, marketing pivots, the studio's resources were stretched very thin. They essentially had to learn how to be a publisher and a game developer simultaneously.
That's their choice. That was their choice.
Which would come to haunt them massively for the launch of the game a bit later on. But that's the formula they had stuck to. 3v3 raid PvP shooter.
Look how big the map is and how far you have to go.
But that's the formula they had stuck to. 3v3 raid.
Look at this. It's like we're playing New World and you're going between towns.
PvP shooter. For the next couple of years, from 2022 up until late 2025, they would continue to iterate upon this idea with new heroes, different weapons, and began game planning their launch strategy. They wanted to take a playbook from what worked in the past for them.
Just imagine just a bigger battle going on. Just imagine 10v10, 12v12, since they had 8 teams of 3.
Big reveal, then a shadow drop shortly after. After all, that's kind of the formula that they used for Apex Legends. And look at how successful that game is. But there is one giant differentiator between Respawn Entertainment and Wildlight Entertainment.
Yeah, half the studio's missing.
When Apex Legends came out, Respawn had already crafted the world with the legendary Titanfall series. Highguard would be a brand new IP set in a brand new world from a team who hadn't shipped a game together yet. But regardless, the team...
I agree, Dupless. I agree. We get this shit and Battleborn got killed. Yep.
Would be radio silent for the entire development, with the expectation that once they brought the game to market, it would take over the world. But as we know, that's far from what actually happened. As the team got closer and closer to launch, they decided to purchase the spot at the Game Awards.
Nope, that's not correct either. If he says they purchased that spot, that's not correct. They supposedly, and this is getting muddled because the article that came out said that Jeff Keighley gave him a spot, but didn't give him the last spot. That someone didn't show up, and then they gave him the last spot, and they asked him if they wanted to take the last spot. So of course they took the last spot. What is being confused is if they paid anything to be at the award show. Now, if they didn't pay anything to be at the award show, and Jeff Keighley just said, "Hey, that looks bad on Jeff," because then why are other people paying money when he's just giving spots away, especially the last spot away? So I would assume that they paid money. Now, if they didn't pay any money, then something has to be looked into, because why are other people paying money to show up at the show when they don't have to pay money? Now, it's his show. He can do what he wants, but it just looks a little bad on his part. If they paid a spot and they all paid like $100,000 to be in the actual game show, the award show, then they happen to get the last spot because that's the spot they put him in. That's completely different than not paying for the spot.
The biggest marketing beat they possibly could. Jeff Keighley introduced it as a day,
which is weird because they said they didn't even want to do it. They were going to shadow drop it, but Keighley approached them and said, "Hey, do you want this spot?" So of course they took it.
View of a supergroup, a project so secret that not a single leak had escaped in 4 years. They were ready, but the trailer revealed a fantasy tech hero shooter that the internet immediately found confusing.
I just really don't understand why they would save this game as their final reveal, which is like always the most important reveal because it's the one that sticks with the viewers the longest. And having a generic hero shooter be in that place feels really odd, and a lot of people have been kind of clowning on it for it.
Right off the bat, Wildlight didn't expect this to be the reaction, but they decided to keep their silence while they readied their launch plans. They were banking on the Apex strategy. The
Apex strategy, though, was complete silence, not showing anybody anything, which was a complete shadow drop, which negated when they got shown at the Game Awards.
Yeah, that once players actually got their hands on the sticks, the quality would speak for itself and the noise would die down. But 2026 isn't 2019. On January 26th, the game finally dropped, and the surprise was anything but delightful. While the game peaked at a respectable 97,000
that is just bad. It's not the only game that does this, by the way.
concurrent players on Steam, proof that the Respawn pedigree still carried weight, the honeymoon phase lasted less than a day. Within 48 hours, the player count plummeted by over 80%, bottoming out at just 18,000 players. The mostly negative reviews started pouring in, and yes, I don't think the game is that...
It was review bombed. Review bombed. Not that it was incomplete, broken, and not well designed.
That bad, but it didn't matter. The gaming community had loudly rejected the game. Players found the maps to be massive empty ghost towns that were clearly designed for more than 6 people.
Because they designed original maps for 8 teams of 3.
The 3v3 format meant you could spend 10 minutes farming and looting in the open world, and if you got into a firefight with any other players, the setback from dying wasn't really that bad. You would just respawn right away. To make matters worse, this failure isn't easily fixable. In interviews just before launch, the studio bragged that they had already had a full year of content finished and ready to go.
So if they have the full year finished, did they say they have a full year finished? Is that the exact words? I thought they said they had a year's planned. If they already have a full year finished, then why did you release with just 3v3? So I'll stick by what I said yesterday. They're going to push everything forward much faster, right? They're going to push things faster. If they have a finished 1 year, meaning they probably have a finished game, but they broke their game up to slowly drip feed you to come back for the remainder of the year. That's a bad, like saying it out loud, okay, is bad. To tell us that you already have a year's worth of planned. They plan and finish are 2 different things. If you have a year planned, meaning you have a certain amount in the pipeline, cool. But if you have the whole year complete and you're sitting on it, this was bad back in Destiny days when Destiny 1 came out and people were like, they're already done with it. They just took it out. They're like, no, they didn't. No, they didn't. It's not on the disc. It's not on the disc, right? This is that whole scenario over again. They're done with the game that's incomplete, but they choose not to release the actual game. Amazing.
There's a lot of live service fatigue right now, right? These games tend to hit you with a FOMO, which I think players have gotten wise to, for good reason.
They said it out loud. They said it out loud.
We're building a game that people want to come back to.
A few moments later.
We knew when we started we wanted to make a shooter, and we knew we wanted to make something that was live service. And so we've been planning for that for a very long time.
They built a roadmap for a live service juggernaut before they even knew if players liked the base game. This is the Concorde trap. They have a train full of content barreling down the tracks, but there are no passengers on board. Now, Wildlight is in a nightmare scenario.
And you know the people that like the game right now? They're going to be like, 18 months from now, they'll be like, see? I told you the game was good. It's like, bro, 18 months later, and the game is good. You were protecting it for 18 months before it got good. You telling it's good 18 months later proves that it was a shit game before.
Do they release Season 1 for the 18,000 players left playing? Or do they scrap a year's worth of work to rebuild the core loop?
No. The core loop, they just have to add more people. A lot of the problems with this game goes away if they just add more people to the game. They have to adjust the beginning of the game. The beginning of the game, getting the resources and stuff like that is bad. The actual firefights and stuff is fine. Okay, it's not groundbreaking or anything. It's fine, but they need more people on these maps. 1,000%.
Because they are self-publishing, they don't have an EA safety net to absorb that financial blow. Every day they spent fixing the game is a day they're not making any.
Yeah, they should have swapped them, Jesse. Jesse says, if Star Wars The Fate of the Old Republic was the last spot and Highguard was the first spot in the Game Awards show, it'd be better than the last spot. 100%. If they swap places and they led with this, it would still be in the same situation it's in, but it also wouldn't be as bad because the last spot's meant for like these big things, but also the last spot showing a game like Star Wars and then it's off like 3 years. That's also stupid.
Money. The team isn't lacking talent by any means. The problem with the development of Highguard wasn't a lack of talent or even gunplay. The guns actually feel great to shoot. The main problem was a lack of a solid vision and no guards against risk at all. Looking at Arc Raiders, for example, that game had a similar point in its development where the team knew that it wasn't fun. So,
So they released it. Oh, no, they didn't. They changed it.
Took the time they needed to make sure that before all else, a fun loop was achieved, even if it meant a 3-year delay. Highguard, for whatever reason, didn't have that realization. Instead, they banked on the fact that since they were coveted developers working on a new title, that pedigree would be enough to garner attention. And they weren't wrong. The game launched to a decent player base, but in the process, they forgot that in the modern market, attention is a loan, not a gift. In trying to escape the silos of the big publishers, Wildlight Entertainment proved that freedom is a double-edged sword. Without a publisher to say this map is too big, or this loop is too confusing, they built a game that only they understood.
Yeah, it's almost like an engineer building something, but building it not for consumers. And they're like, oh, it's super easy. You just do this. Super simple. To the engineer building it, it makes sense. But to the normies, when they pick up a device, they're like, this is too complicated. This is so convoluted type of thing, you know?
Highguard is a reminder that even the architects of the greatest shooters in history can lose the blueprint if they stop listening to the room.
Well, no, it also proves that the people that made Apex Legends amazing was the team, right? Like, I'll do a sports analogy, okay? You can have a Super Bowl team, but just because 4 people leave the team, right, and then all of a sudden your team sucks, is because the team is a team, and the team was a Super Bowl team. Now, obviously, if these 4 people leave and 4 people come in, it's still a Super Bowl team, well, then these people didn't really matter, right? You still have the most important people on that team. Well, if the people that made Titanfall and the people that made Apex Legends moved over to this and it didn't become good because they're missing features, well, then the people that made those games good didn't move over to this group, in my opinion, right? Like, there's an ingredient missing in here, right? They should have taken someone else over here and added them in because they're missing an ingredient that would have made the game better, but someone that worked for the company wasn't there.
Talent gets people to download your game, but a cohesive vision is the only thing that keeps them from hitting delete.
So there you go. Check out his video. Links in the description down below. We're going to go to the next one right away, which is Skill Up, talking about it. We haven't watched a Skill Up video in quite a bit of time. He's got over 1 million people. Let me see what you guys are saying. Argus says, went to Lono's stream to see what was going to glaze and run defense for Highguard, but instead he's just been 2 hours sitting on Xbox Pod as the content creators and people that talk shit. Cool. All right.
This video is sponsored by Raycon, who are offering up to 20% off site-wide, including on their all-new Essential Open earbuds. These have become a central part of my exercise routine. They're sleek, smart, and way more comfortable than your average.
Crowded says the missing ingredient was proper supervision. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Earbuds actually make exercise enjoyable, which isn't easy. Get 20% off your order when you visit buyraycon.com/skillupopen. Scan the QR code on screen or stick around to the end of the video to learn more. All right, I'm going to talk about why Highguard isn't great and definitely should not have been launched into 1.0.
That's it. That's all we need to hear from Skill Up. Is he review bombing it?
In its current form, and definitely should not have had this level of marketing attached to it. But before I do that, I really want to set up the context for this video. Imagine if all of a sudden a little studio working in secret revealed themselves and shadow dropped a new PvP shooter. They released it as an invite-only closed beta, and they were really clear that the game is at the start of a long journey and they want to work with the community to refine the vision, and they didn't overhype it. They just put out a thing with a plan to work on it until it was truly ready to launch. Had Highguard launched in that way,
that would have been great, right? What he just described would have been great if they did that way. Nope. They worked on it for almost 5 years and said, we got to get it out because we're hemorrhaging money. We need money. So we need to put it out there. It is what it is. We'll get a small group of people because that's all we need. And then we'll make microtransactions off of people that are like our game. Right? That core audience is going to give us those microtransactions. And then within 12 months, we'll have, a complete game. But we'll work on that while they give us money to do that instead of keeping it in closed beta. That's the game industry now, guys. That's the game industry.
I suspect it would have been a fairly tepid, but ultimately a fairly optimistic reception, because there's some cool ideas here, and most people understand that building a game like this takes time and testing and community feedback, etc. Hell, I don't think Valve has even properly announced Deadlock yet, and that thing's been in closed beta for like 2 years and counting.
Yeah. Deadlock's been 2 years in closed beta. Did you guys see this? Look at this. Let's go here for a second. Right? Deadlock is in beta right now. It's been in beta since 2024 of July, right? It peaked at 171,000, but it's in beta, okay? So as it goes in beta, it hits, and then they brought a new character in, right? It peaked again to 50 grand. Then it went down again, and now it shot back up to 100K because they added another character, and now it's at 38,000. Deadlock's in beta, and yet it's got more people than Highguard. It went down.
Counting. Had Highguard gone down this path, it wouldn't have had the big day one player count it achieved, but it would have had more goodwill, and it would have set expectations at the right level, and most importantly, it would have allowed the game to be refined to the point where it was ready to be shown to an audience of 100.
They didn't even have a trailer ready. They had to rush a trailer together. The pieces, the breadcrumb trail is amazing.
100 million people, because that is the sort of audience that Jeff Keighley's The Game Awards now draws. I say all of this because I've seen the negative reception towards Highguard, and I think that a lot of it is fair in the sense that this game runs like shit, and its balance is...
That's exactly right. There's no need to sugarcoat it. It runs like shit.
Busted, and the core loop is not there yet, and overall it clearly needs a huge amount of work to get it to where it
Why the fuck are we doing a mini game in the middle of a first-person shooter game?
needs to be. But obviously, a lot of that negative reception is amplified by the fact that despite his best intentions, Jeff did not do this game any favors by putting it in that one more thing slot, and his cheeky tweets this past week haven't helped. No one is offering you any apologies, Jeff, my man.
That tweet, at least in my opinion, that tweet of Keighley doing this, in 48 hours, I'll be accepting your apologies. If it's a joke or not, that shows Keighley's true self right there, right? That tweet shows his true self. I've always said he's arrogant. I've always said it. I don't like Jeff Keighley. I don't know him personally. Just what his persona is on the thing. It's like he's better than everybody else. He's the guy that keeps it all together, okay? He's done some successful things and doing what he's doing with the Game Awards, okay? But that right there exposes exactly who he is.
Last week haven't helped. No one is offering you any apologies, Jeff, my man. Highguard is textbook overhyped, the likes of which we haven't seen for a while, since the industry has kind of learned this lesson a while back, and it's also been released with the wrong label on it. Had it been soft launched into closed beta with some very modest marketing.
I have a question about this little portal here.
We haven't seen for a while.
Now, the portal's there, right? If I have to go this direction to then hit a portal to speed up to go that direction, wouldn't it be easier if I just turned right now and went towards the actual thing?
The industry has kind of learned this lesson a while back, and it's also been released with the wrong label on it. Had it been soft launched into closed beta with some very modest marketing, I think everyone would have a much more measured take on what Highguard actually is. And what is it? Well, not much right now, to be honest, but it could be something one day. There are some parts of it that I like. There's
everything he's saying after this point doesn't matter to me. The game is dead. The game is dead because a game like this needs players to come out. And when the game doesn't come out complete, this is not a PvE game. This is a PvP game. Okay? You either need to stay in beta and fix it or release it complete.
some novel ideas here, but the truth is, and this is just me making a prediction, I think the future of Highguard is less about it becoming a better version of what it is now, and more about taking its elements and remixing them to deliver something different. If you haven't played it yet, you'd be like, what the fuck does that mean? But if you have played it, then you'll immediately be like, yep, cool, I get you, totally. This game only works in fits and starts, and in all the boring downtime in between, you find yourself daydreaming about how fun it would be if there were more players on the map.
NPCs, more players on the map, anything. Literally anything.
some PvE enemies, some vehicles to
Exactly.
ride, more ways to fortify and defend your base, more frames per second, the list goes on. So look, bottom line, Highguard isn't good right now, and Wildlight Entertainment made a pretty grievous error in pushing this thing out in the way they did, because they not only overhyped it,
Yeah, he spells his name Geoff. Yeah.
but they also skipped over a critical community feedback phase that could have allowed them to solve all of the problems that this initial wave of coverage is going to be fixated on. I'm not a Highguard doomer in the sense that you can never predict how these things are going to go in the long term, and I'd honestly love for this game to find an audience and for this studio to be successful, but that feels like it is a long way off. This is not about minor tweaks, it's about some real root and branch redesign of this experience, and I just hope the studio has enough runway to deliver that, and that players are willing to give the game a second chance when the time comes.
Even if you pull a Splitgate, I don't know, man. Like, here's a perfect example, right? Say what you want about Marathon, but Marathon's the next one up. Next one in the chamber, okay? And Highguard came out at the end of January. It has a full month and a week or whatever. It's like 6 weeks total, I think. 5 weeks, 6 weeks total before Marathon comes out. Okay, Marathon actually comes out in 2 weeks because of the beta, open beta, whatever they're coming out with, right? If Marathon is 5% better than this, if it's just complete to a certain point when it comes out and it feels better than this, no one's going back to Highguard, right? You get one moment to make an impression on people. One moment. I talked about this the other day. If someone walks into my stream right now and sees me yelling or screaming or anything, that's their impression of me, right? Only if they get an inkling of coming back and seeing what I'm about do they get more. But most of the time they won't. They'll be like, I'm gone. I don't care about what this guy says, right? First impressions are everything. If someone's an asshole to you first, it takes a long time to go, oh, you know what? That guy wasn't an asshole, right? It's because you're looking for something. You're like, this isn't it, right? So they have to try again. There is no second impression. There's no second impression. First impression, and then it always sticks in the back of your head. This person's an asshole. This game is broke. These people fucked me over. Whatever it is, you could vary it back and go, all right, well, first impression, this game was bad. You want to come back 18 months from now because there's no other game coming out at that point. You want to give it a shot? Cool. But there's another game coming out, and there's going to be another game coming out there. And then there's updates, right? You got to remember all the games that are already out that have updates. This game needs to come out, and it needed to work day one.
Okay, so let's knock over performance first. It's terrible. I'm playing on an
I love what he just said. Well, let's talk about this. It's terrible. Yeah, it is.
RTX.
But that's not what the journals will tell you. And the people that come white knight and trash night for a game, they're like, nah, it's got good stuff. You got to pay for 5 hours to at least understand what the game is.
5090 running at 4K resolution, DLSS on, low settings, resolution scaling set to like 50% or some shit, and I'm struggling to crack 60 FPS when I'm in the siege phase of the game, which is basically the most important part. By the way, if I jack it to high settings, the frame rate stays largely the same, so clearly there are some fairly profound optimization issues going on here. I would say that this level of performance negatively impacts my experience to the point where I don't want to play the game. So
Just like that. Just the performance. He's like, I'm done with the game.
sometimes shitty performance hurts an experience, but you can live with it in a tactical 3v3 PvP.
That's right. Because if you have a shitty experience with frame rate, but the game is actually fun, you'll forget the frame rate. But if the game's not fun and you have shitty frame rate, guess what?
shooter, nah, you need this shit to run properly, otherwise it just feels like you're wasting your time. The PC options menu is also extremely garbage for a tactical shooter released in 2026. Like, you really need to give people a lot of options for games like this so that a critical mass of people on low-end hardware can achieve the frame rates necessary for competitive play. But this handful of options doesn't allow you to tweak nearly enough, and by the way, you can't even select the type of DLSS you're applying, like balanced or performance or quality or whatever. It's just DLSS on or off. That's it. And the resolution...
Let me tell you something. Marathon's very lucky that this game came out because Arc Raiders is fantastic, right? Concord is the shit. This is being compared to Concord, but now Marathon can be compared to Highguard, which makes it better.
The scaling bar doesn't even work because you can't manually set it to whatever you like. You can move the bar, but you can't save the setting. When you try and then reopen the menu, it just goes straight back to where it was before. So if I'm getting this level of performance on a 5090, then heaven help people running on 20 series GPUs or whatever. The game is sitting at a mostly negative rating on Steam, and a lot of those are review bombs, sure, but
Stop it. Stop it, Skill Up. Okay? It's not all review bombs. People need to stop talking about review bomb. Okay? People that played the game, I don't care if it's fucking 30 minutes or if it's 18 hours. They're allowed to tell you what's wrong with the game. And guess what? The guy that's playing for 30 minutes or 45 minutes that tells you the game is broke, buggy, and unfinished and tells you a whole paragraph why it's broke, buggy, and unfinished, that's not a review bomb.
a lot of them, and I mean a lot of them, are calling out performance. For a game that looks this simple and for a genre that demands high, well-paced frame rates, this sort of performance is pretty surprising and honestly a bit of a deal breaker. On the point of visuals, I don't know, man, I'll put it this way. What if Immortals of Avium had a multiplayer mode?
I totally forgot about that game. Yeah, actually, this game actually would be better if it had a multiplayer of it.
That sounds super harsh, so I'll remind you that I actually recommended Immortals of Avium. I like that game, but there's no denying that there was something generic about its rendition of a fantasy world. Too clean, too gilded, too flat, just lacking that stylistic hook that makes your brain go, huh, never seen that before. Highguard's characters all embody that vibe, I think. They all look okay, but their designs don't really communicate anything about their play styles. Like, did you know that this guy, Atticus, throws lightning spears? And this guy, Kai, is an ice mage who can transform into a giant frost golem thingy. And this guy, Slade, can shoot lava from his hands. Do they look like they can do that? This guy looks like he should be some sword-wielding melee duelist. This dude looks like he should be controlling the lightning and using it to zoom around the battlefield like the Team Fortress Scout or whatever, and this dude looks like he should be throwing out Shoryukens in Street Fighter 6. The world design is equally bland, but I actually think that's more a function of the way these spaces are designed than their art. But in order to talk about that, we first need to understand what this game is and how it works, so let's talk about that next, I guess. Okay, so what is Highguard? So the short answer
It's a good answer. We don't know. Nobody knows what Highguard is.
imagine the visuals and class design of Valorant crossed with the time to kill and loot progression of a battle royale game crossed with the bomb planting and destruction of Rainbow Six Siege. That's Highguard, sort of. The round starts by selecting your warden. There are only a handful to choose from at this point, but surely more will arrive in future seasons. You then choose your home base, and there are a couple to choose from, and they each have their own distinct layouts and strengths and weaknesses. I'm not sure why this is selectable at this point, since it feels like everyone
There shouldn't be a selected of a map. It should literally just go through the rounds. Do you know what I mean? That way you wouldn't have to wait because you can't find players.
Everyone just chooses the recommended option when it appears. Maybe some metagame stuff emerges later on where it's clear that certain characters excel at defending certain layouts. I don't know. For now though, it feels a bit superfluous and I'd be just as happy to have these bases randomized. The game begins with a defense phase. Here you're running around your base reinforcing walls so they're harder to demolish. You want to do this around your generators and your central crystal thingy, since enemy planting bombs on these things is how you lose the game. This is obviously
The only reason you should do any walls is around the actual points of interest. Nothing else.
very similar to the setup phase in Rainbow Six Siege, only it's nowhere near as meaningful because enemies have so many ways to crack open these reinforcements, things like character abilities and rocket launchers and sledgehammer.
You know what's funny? Fortnite could do this exact same game mode inside of Fortnite and it would do better than this game. I truly mean that. They could just take what this game is, put it in Fortnite, and it'd just be a game mode and it wouldn't suffer because people would be like, oh, I'll play it over there.
And other explosives. Siege fortifications work because characters have fewer means of breaching them, and breaking them typically only breaks a small space rather than
exactly what I was saying, Skill Up. Yeah, with the wall break mechanic, you're breaking small little holes in the wall and you can make it bigger, but you're busting through and you're making it that the whole wall doesn't just explode.
out an entire fucking wall. It's an inelegant comparison because Siege and Highguard are so different, so I'll just summarize it this way. In Siege, the setup phase feels necessary and urgent and important, and you really think about where and what you reinforce. Here in Highguard, you're like, yeah, that'll do, I guess, and then you just wait for the enemy to eventually demolish that wall in the Siege phase anyway. The first defense phase goes for a minute, after which time you're loosed upon the rest of the map for the gear up phase. This is when things really start to go off the rails.
This should almost be like a chess match. Do you know what I mean? It should almost be a chess match. And from what I said earlier about the different resources appearing on the map and then converging and trying to fight over those resources, and then as a team, to like what you choose to use your resources for, that should be like a chess match type of thing.
Highguard's maps are pretty
It won't be very popular, but I'm just trying to add something to what's already here.
big, like so big that you almost never encounter an enemy player in the gear up phase, so big that you're actually best off splitting your squad of 3 and going in 3 separate directions because there's so much ground to cover, and because you're so unlikely to encounter an enemy, and because even if you do die in this phase, you don't really lose anything other than a bit of armor, which is easy to instantly replace. So in this phase, you're doing 2 things. You're looting blue chests for armor and trinkets that give you boosts like faster ability recharge time or whatever, and red chests that give you weapons.
You literally don't even need this in the game itself.
The thing is though, gear quality is throttled based on which round you're on. So during the first round of play before any siege has commenced, you're only going to find blue items.
You should literally use the resources to find the rarity of the stuff. Take the resources, you're like, hey guys, I have a resource. Hey, I would like to get a purple whatever. Cool, let's do that. Let's get this, right? Fight over the resources, use the resources to get the thing.
When a siege ends and the map resets, purple items will then begin to appear, and after another round you'll start getting high tier orange items which can have unique perks on them that make them really overpowered depending on the weapon type, but we won't get into weapon balance too much in this video. So the first gear up phase just sees you collecting a blue version of the grey gun you chose to start with, and the next phase sees you collecting the purple version of it. That's it. Oh, actually that's not it. You're also mining for some
Why are we not using weapons that you already have? Instead, I have to do a mini game to break the resource.
reason. You're doing this quick time event over and over to mine crystal so you can buy things from the vendor, and the vendor looks like Captain Price for some reason. Most of the time though, you don't really need to talk to this guy.
He does look like Captain Price. I didn't even think about that.
Because you get so much loot from the chests because there's so many chests and no enemies are contesting them. So here's a hot take. You could just remove this phase from the game completely.
Yeah, I think Krebsy said this yesterday, right? Or 2 days ago, right? You could have NPC guys just hanging out by the chests that you have to fight to try to at least get the chest to slow you down. And then the other team could be like, oh, I'm gonna push on their side because they're fighting their bad guy. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand the concept of the game.
And nothing of value would be lost right now. I'm not proposing that because I think you could add some things to this phase to make it good, but right now it adds nothing. It's just boring padding. Imagine though if this phase had some PvE enemies to farm. That way you could shoot stuff for currency rather than just do a boring
100%. Make the crystals fucking people. Make them walk around.
ass minigame. Maybe there could be some boss encounters in the middle of the map that drop some high level loot and that actually force some actual confrontation between teams. Maybe there's a vehicle you want to fight over that could give you an advantage in the siege or defense phase. Maybe a lot of things. Maybe literally anything other than
Right, anything except for nothing.
running around for 2 minutes doing basically nothing. This is a really urgent need. I think this phase is dreadful. After that, the shield breaker begins to spawn. This is essentially a flag that you need to capture and bring to the enemy base, and if you do that, you initiate a siege on their base. There's a 1 minute timer before this appears, which is too long, and it should be 30 seconds, and then it appears, someone grabs it, and it's on like Donkey Kong. The flag fight is actually cool, and it's here, a full 4 minutes into the round, that we actually begin shooting things. I feel like Capture the Flag is timeless, and it's kind of cool to see this rendition of it here with the ability to mount up instantly and flee or give chase. It immediately took me back to the classic days of Halo, riding in a warthog or in a ghost. It's just cool, and honestly, it's like one of the few parts of Highguard that you look at and go, okay, this part's working, no notes. After one team
Yeah, that part's good.
team dunks the shield breaker into the enemy base, this Gron-ass battering ram appears. This is where things start to suck again because one team sits on one side of the force field waiting to get in, and the other team should be doing some...
Right. There should be, as the team that's getting attacked, they should be able to put turrets. They should have been able to get NPCs that they purchase, and then they start defending and fighting and something.
Last minute defensive stuff, but they can't because there's nothing else to do. You can't like activate defensive turrets or golems or set traps.
Exactly. He said the same thing. It's like we're all on the same page because we've all played fucking video games and we understand this is not working. What do? Add something, do something. There's a whole history of games that you could take from and be like, oh, this is good. We'll take it from that. They're like, no, we're going to make the greatest game ever created. What do you do here? Nothing. We're going to subvert their expectations. They think we're going to let them buy turrets and stuff. No. Ted. What about if we don't put the turrets until season 7? And that way you could purchase the turret. Great idea, Ted. Anybody else? Hillary, what do you got? What about if we take the characters and separate them across the 5 months? Beautiful. Let's do that. All right. So what are we going to launch with, guys? 3v3. Perfect. Thank you, Rico. Rico said 3v3. We're going to put that in the game. We're going to do absolutely nothing. It's going to be great. Haters. Review bombs.
Or permanently reinforce a wall so it can never be destroyed or anything. You just stand there watching the other team while they watch you back. It's like that Darth Maul Qui-Gon Jinn scene, only the force field is up for way longer. Anyway, eventually the shield comes down.
It is like...
And then it's a battle to detonate either 2 generators or 1 central crystal thingy. But similar to the open world, the bases just feel way too big given that there's only 3 people on each team. Put it this way, 3 people have to defend 3 locations. It's just so easy for the enemy to flank around and set up a cheeky bomb because there's so much space for them to operate in, and also because it's really easy to punch extra holes in the dome given how...
I love that. I love that. You reinforce the wall, okay? You reinforce the wall, but the person can just walk through it because that's her special ability. Genius.
Readily available these dome splitter items are, and how easy it is to punch holes in walls given everything I described earlier. There's also a real homogeneity to how these bomb locations are set up. Like the base layouts are always different, but the generators and crystals are always inside, surrounded by walls and roofs. This naturally forces a big focus on close quarter combat weapons in that phase, and it renders a number of ultimates completely useless since they rely on being outside and having space to operate in. As such, this phase feels very similar from one round to the next because you can never really apply different tactics to get the bomb planted. It always has to be explode the walls, rush the site, hide in a nearby corner.
I have a question because I never tried it. Can you melee somebody? And when you melee them, is there a mini game? Or can you just melee them?
With a shotgun or SMG out and then just hope for the best. To its credit, the flow of these rounds is actually quite clever since a really strong team can effectively steamroll the match, riding their momentum to a quick win, whereas a good defense will see the bases reset so that the other team...
No, they can't do that, Jesse. If they do that, that won't be original. That means they're taking something else. Because as soon as I said this is like chivalry. Chivalry, but with guns. Right? That's chaotic. That game's chaotic. It's a meat grinder. But that also feels like the time period.
Has a chance to claw their way back, and that could mean that games can go for as little as like 5 minutes, or they can stretch to as long as 30. That's good in the sense that these 30-minute matches can be really exciting, but it can also make the decision to play Highguard a tricky one since you don't know if the match you're about to step into is going to be one of the long ones, so you essentially need to have the next 30 minutes free every time you hit that Q button, otherwise you might have to leave early and cop a leavers penalty. And that really brings us to one of the game's biggest weaknesses or
You know the game's not done when they don't have a fucking rank mode. Okay? That's the next thing they put in, a rank mode.
Weaknesses as I personally see it. This is trying to be a sweaty, tactical, fairly punishing game that attracts a competitive player. Matchmaking generally sucks as it's a game where team coordination is super important. There's long respawn timers and runbacks if you happen to get downed in the flag chase phase. There's limited lives in the siege phase. It's all structured to be fairly sweaty, but the time to kill doesn't really align with that since it's quite long and you can't really 2v1 or 3v1 like you can in a proper competitive experience. Presently, it's a game that's very much about throughput throughput rather than true gun skill, and that makes the whole thing feel like it's got a bit of an identity crisis. And that's just the inherent actual tension in the game's core loop. But on top of that, we can also add the sort of tension that exists in our own imagination as we play this thing. Like its visual style and its combat pacing and its map size all scream that this should be casual friendly, but it's not. Like, it's just definitely not. It's really set up to appeal to a very niche group of players who are
Not only are they looking for a niche audience, but they're also looking for a niche audience that has whales in it. Good luck to you.
already well serviced by other competitive games, and who aren't willing to suffer the many compromises that Highguard currently suffers from. And then you can zoom out even further and start straight up wishlisting all the stuff I mentioned throughout this video. Like, imagine a loot phase that involves some PvE enemies and some PvP skirmishes. Imagine being able to earn more interesting loot rather than just always getting blue upgrades in round 1 and purple upgrades in round 2 and so on. Imagine if there were things you could do in that loot phase that would give you an advantage in the siege phase.
I mean, I'm okay with the mining, Krebsy, but it's like, why do I have to melee it with a minigame? Why can't I just shoot it? Or, like they said earlier, why can't I just shoot NPCs to get the actual thing? Right? I mean, there's literally no difference. I mean, Arc Raiders, you're shooting arcs to get pieces to loot, right? That could help you if it's grenades or whatever, right? It's okay to, like, mine things, but it's like, why am I stopping to grab a hatchet to hit a crystal that I have to do a minigame for? Why can't I just take my gun, right? Like, they could have added a laser to each gun that mines that mines the thing. Or just leave it as the gun. You're wasting ammo, but you're mining the stuff, right? Like, it makes no sense why they chose what they did.
Like trebuchets for attackers or stronger fortifications for defenders. Imagine being able to do something, like anything at all, during that second defense phase, rather than just standing there waiting for the enemy to come in. Imagine being able to set traps or block off pathways. Imagine some bomb locations out in the open so that you could apply some different tactics. All that stuff sounds really cool, and you may be thinking, well, why didn't the developers just do that? Well, the truth is, everything I just described is a fundamentally different game from what this is, and this is the point I made at the start of this video.
Well, technically, this is not a game. It's not complete.
I just can't see how Highguard succeeds as Valorant plus Rainbow Six Siege with horses. I can't see a scenario where the truly competitive crowd of hardcore PvP sweats flock to this and give it the play base necessary for it to survive. But I can kind of see how a more casual arena
100%.
shooter style thing works and does it.
We talked about this before, right? And someone told me I was wrong about Marathon going casual or whatnot, right? They're looking for a casual base from a business perspective. You want a casual base. You don't want a hardcore. Even though in business, you want a small group of people that fund your thing, right? And then you try to expand from there, right? You're not looking for everybody. You're looking for 1,000 people. You're looking for 1 million people, right? So, like, if you build a restaurant, you look at the surrounding area and say, okay, what's missing from here? Well, there's no coffee shop. Okay, the closest coffee shop in the arranged area is 20 miles away. Let's put a coffee shop here. And what is this coffee shop going to do? Well, it's got about 100,000 people around. Well, how many people drink coffee? Well, this is how many people drink coffee. Great. Let's put the coffee place there. And then that's how they figure out stuff. When you're building a game and you're like, here's a game that we want to build. We want to build a competitive game. Well, how many people? They said it themselves, right? They know it's a live service game. People are upset about it with microtransactions, right? With microtransactions, oh, we want a competitive game, or we want this, right? They keep making it more niche. You can't have a successful free-to-play game if you're opening it up to the hardcores that want to spend money to keep your game alive. That's not what you're going to do, okay? You got to make your game casual, free-to-play, so the majority of the people come in and go, wow, this is actually a really fun game. You know what? I'm going to give you money. But then that's where the players come in. They're like, nah, I've been asking for this PvP game to be so sweaty that my balls are constantly on fire, right? Like, that's what they're looking for. Well, good luck to you. Good luck to you and your balls trying to get a niche community to make this game super popular for you. Good luck.
Attract a critical mass of players who would play this for fun in the same way that Overwatch and Marvel Rivals attracts players owing to how immediate and accessible they are. If this was more Halo and less Valorant, I could see this working, and in fact, I'd actually be super into that package.
The cosmetics are like $18, $20. They're anywhere between like $15 and $20 for the cosmetics.
With more players on the map and some PvE enemies and this time to kill and the whole capture the flag thing and some tower defense stuff, I think that's a pretty winning combo. I personally would be down for that.
What did he say?
With more players on the map and some
Yeah.
PvE enemies
Yeah.
and this time to kill and the whole capture the flag thing
It's a whole lot of changes there.
and some tower defense stuff, I think that's a pretty winning combo. I personally would be down for that. And I think there's enough here in this toolbox where Wildlight Entertainment could remix these elements to deliver that. But that's literally just me wishlisting stuff, and it's not the reality of the game in front of us right now. And maybe while
And then it tells me perfect. Like I'm hitting it perfect. Great. Who cares?
Wildlight go in that path, but maybe they don't. I don't know. All I know right now is that Highguard was not at all ready for the massive spotlight that was shone on it. It reminds me of Amazon's Crucible, actually. Do you remember that one?
I unfortunately I do. The game that came out, went back into beta, and then came back out and then closed. That one?
Nope, you don't. But it was a 5v5 arena shooter style thing that released way too early because Amazon wanted to seize on the opportunity presented by COVID when we're all locked in our houses. They figured that even though the game wasn't ready, the chance to grab that audience in that moment was too big to pass up. Crucible ended up paying the ultimate price, pulled back into closed beta after its Rush 1.0 release, before eventually being shuttered altogether some months later. Highguard's release is obviously very different, but the contours
Is it different? Seems pretty much the same.
are similar. A chance at an audience too big to pass up, and a release before proper testing had refined the game to the point where it was ready to be presented to that
If they charged $40 for this and they got 10,000 people to buy their game, fantastic. But they free to play and you have nobody playing your game.
audience. I do hope that Wildlight are willing to go back to the drawing board on a number of elements here, because Highguard could eventually become something fun and unique and interesting and could do things that other games aren't doing. Right now, though, it feels like a badly optimized
Maybe this could be the No Man's Sky of competitive shooters. Maybe. Nah.
amalgam of disparate elements stitched together without enough thought or testing, and as such, I think most people can sit this one out until the future of Highguard becomes clear, whatever that future ends up being.
Does he do an advertisement? Yeah, it's advertisement at the end here. All right. So there you go. Skill Up's link in the description down below. All right. So let's go from Highguard to Grounded. Let's see. We got Grounded. We got... I think we have a video here. The guy tells us in 7 minutes what's in Grounded. This is Xbox On. This is talking about Grounded 2. Currently 7,300. Let's talk about Grounded 2, because I like my survival games. We like Grounded 1. Grounded 2 is great, but obviously it's in early access, and they're putting stuff in. It's an incomplete game, but you can also play it on Game Pass. At least it knows what it is, unlike the game we just talked about, Highguard. So let's talk about Grounded 2 and the Toxic Tangle update.
New bugs, new buggies, and more. Here's everything that we found in the Toxic Tangle update. We started off by checking out something huge, the brand new biome called the Garden. But this isn't even the biggest thing in the park, to be honest, and you'll see what I mean later. Anyway, found in the northeast of the map, this glorious bit of greenery comes pack in a bunch of new landmarks that I had to check out, including a greenhouse and a pumpkin patch, as well as new anthills, labs, and ranger outposts, not to mention a whole new quest line, but I won't spoil that for you. Now, to help you cover all that new ground, the Toxic Tangle also adds a brand new rideable buggy, and, in the words of Tom Jones, whoa, 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 she's a lady.
It's terrible. It's a ladybug, but it was terrible.
The Ladybug Buggy, well, Lady Buggy, whatever. It's stylish and deadly, boasting a powerful ram attack and an anti-air cannon that I found is...
I mean, that looks OP, because we were doing that before they had a ladybug. I was putting stuff on the ladybug.
Is ideal for clearing out flying foes, but it's also great for cleaning up Tang, the sour spills that have cropped up all over the place, thanks to another one of Ominent's dunderheaded experiments. But Tang, it acts as this new status effect, kind of corroding your armor over time, so you definitely want to blast it off of any friendlies who have gone and got themselves good and tanged. The Ladybug Buggy is also the tankiest buggy I've seen so far, with the ability to actually heal itself and a slight resistance to that aforementioned Tang, which I found's pretty good, because you're going to need all the help you can get when the masked stranger returns for yet another scrap. But fair warning, this time she actually brought some friends, so I had to go and get a Lady Buggy ASAP to help with that new boss fight. She's a real snake, that masked stranger, but not nearly as much of a snake as the game's
Oh, damn. They got a snake in here?
latest Colossus, who is an actual...
I literally had a nightmare last night about snakes. And now I see that's pretty freaky.
literal snake. It's also the largest Colossus we've seen so far, and you'll find it slithering around the croquet court, which is around here.
Bro, that's freaking badass looking.
Here, near the outside wall of the garden. Though, really, you just might be a lot happier if you never find them at all. Now you know where they are, you can
I want to avoid them.
dodge them. Of course, the snake isn't the only new critter who's moved into the park. Fortunately, the others are considerably smaller and much less scary. So we found pincher and whipper earwigs, and although sadly we didn't find any cuddler, complimenter, or make you a nice cup of tea for your earwigs, but we do have the very cuddly sounding and quite chic looking woolly aphids. We also found a charmingly rustic rust beetle, and I'll be totally honest here, the totally unserious sounding
Potato beetle?
Potato beetle. But then there are the wasps and the wasp drones, both of whom I found made for great target practice for that nice new anti-air cannon, as well as a fine selection of crickets, who I reckon will come in really handy if we run into any puppet boys in need of moral guidance. Here's what I'm interested in though, because all of these new creatures are made of creature parts, which I could then harvest and turn into new bits of armor. And I'm not going to run through every single new addition to Grounded 2's Buggy Boutique, but I was especially psyched about the snakeskin boots because fashion.
So you can. How hard is that snake going to be to kill?
And the potato beetle helmet because potato. And of course, yes, you can also turn those bug bits into a whole range of deadly new weapons, including minty, spicy, and venomous varieties of the great arrows, as well as tang bangers and katangas. Plus, the Toxic Tangle also introduces 4 new unique weapons, including a sweet new set of daggers called the Crimson Reapers. But there's also a bunch of returning gear, including the full Black Ant armor set and sword, as well as the Firefly headlamp and the good old
The headlamp's good.
rusty spear, which I think is just a much more insulting thing to poke your enemies with than a nice shiny spear. But something else that I wanted to check out was the huge change that Obsidian have made to mutations that I think is just going to totally change the way that I think about my player loadout. So Grounded 2's perks are now divided into 2 categories. We've got active and passive. Active mutations, they work just kind of like they've always done. You equip them and unequip them to shape your build, suit your playstyle, you know how that works. But passive mutations, they work with your weapon set and are applied automatically when you switch equipment, which helps free up a slot and give players more room for customization. And thanks to the Toxic Tangle, there are now 4 more mutations into the mix as well. Hauling Hero returns from Grounded 1, allowing players to just carry way more resources.
That's good.
Along with revamped version.
Which you kind of don't need unless you don't have an ant. You know what I mean? Because if you have an ant, you can carry more. But now if you don't have an ant, you can carry more yourself.
Of Bardic Inspiration, Sour
What was that last one?
Sensation, and along with returns from Grounded 1, allowing players to just carry way more resources.
Attacks, perfect shots, and dodges can buff allies. Okay.
Along with revamped versions of Bardic Inspiration, Sour Sensation,
Eat 5 sour lumps, eat 10 sour lumps. Okay.
and Whittle Wizard.
Sizzle, shatter, pucker damage, slightly increased. Sizzle, shatter, pucker damage, and more. Okay.
That's not Little Wizard, but cute. It's Whittle, like whittling. The garden is a ripe source of new resources as well, with loads of new stuff for us to harvest. We've got veggies like potatoes, carrots, pumpkin, and key lime, and then things like corn dogs and pretzels, which personally I've never been able to grow in my actual garden. But what would you grow in your real life garden if you could? Legally. Anyway, throw in some glue.
Yeah, most people would say weed.
Shrooms, cactus flowers, fertilizer, and chrysalis hide. And we've actually got a really rich selection of new resources to worry about. I mean, where am I going to find the room for all this stuff? On top of that, though, a bunch of old resources have made their grand return. So if you've been simply outraged by Grounded 2's lack of pinecone pieces, wood splinters, gunpowder clumps and
I did not know you could do the gunpowder stuff.
lint. Never thought I'd miss that. Then you can finally calm down, because we found loads. So more stuff to build with also means more stuff to build, including the introduction of hatches.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm already imagining all sorts of devious things I could do with these bad boys. It's also a lovely little nest for your ladybug, a pumpkin kit, a reskinned mushroom kit, a thatch awning kit to make your base feel just a little bit homier, an update to the acorn stairs kit, and a ponic patch where you can grow all sorts of soggy, delicious things. They haven't forgotten about making some nice little tweaks that we've been asking for too,
There's a lot of stuff in this update.
like the addition of coordinates on the map menu to help us find our way around, which is so useful, and upgraded weapons now keep their hot pouch assignment, so you don't actually have to do quite so much tinkering, while unique weapons, they can now be crafted from the workbench. So clutch. And archers, you're going to be pleased to know that you can now cancel an arrow after you've drawn it, which is just going to be great for when you begin to line up a shot.
Dude, that snake is so creepy looking. I wasn't bothered by the spiders, but the snakes got me going.
At the big snake, and then, yeah, maybe not. What about you guys? What else have you discovered while playing Grounded 2's latest update, Toxic Tangle? Hit
Well, it's free, Mo, if you have Game Pass, but I think it's $20. Is it $20 or $30 if you don't own it?
the comments with your favorite new feature, and I'll see you in the park. Bye.
That was a lot of stuff in the update. I don't know when I'm going to get back to that. It's going to be a while. It's 30? Okay. Yeah, I don't know when I'm going to get back to that. All right. The next thing is a game called Speedball. Okay. Speedball reminds me, I can't remember the robot one. It's not BattleBots. Cyberball. Is that what it was called? Was it called Cyberball? Cyberball was what the robots, it was basically football, but it was like Monster, one.
Rated T.
I think it was Cyberball. This is Speedball.
For teen.
Welcome to Speedball. Set in the year 2138.
Is this a free-to-play, microtransaction-filled game? Or is this a paid-for game?
Isn't just a game, it's the ultimate blood sport. What began as a secret underground competition has exploded into a high-speed, headline-grabbing spectacle. Speedball is a fast-paced, high-octane, and brutal sports game. Originally
Was that Judge Dredd?
developed by the Bitmap brothers for the Amiga, this new version modernizes the graphics and gameplay to bring this classic
I thought it sounded familiar. I couldn't remember a game called Speedball, though.
series to a new audience. At its core, Speedball is a battle between two teams fighting to outscore
Is this a multiplayer game, or is this like a single-player game where I can go through like a season like a Madden and stuff?
one another, most commonly by getting the ball into the goal. However, there are other opportunities that can be just as effective. Speedball rewards aggression just as much as precision. Slamming into opposing players deals damage, and if you inflict enough pain, you'll trigger a slow-motion, brutal takedown. Pull it off, and you'll earn the same points as a standard goal, proving that in Speedball, violence is just as effective.
I actually like that. So you score points by just destroying people. Nice.
As finesse. The 6v6 matches fly by as you fight to score, destroy your opponents, and claim victory. Speedball matches can take place across various arenas, each with its own unique layouts and characteristics that shape how you score against your opponent. There are several game modes available in Speedball, so let's break them
Play match, manage team, team customization, team stats.
down. Starting with quick play, you can face off against a computer opponent at the difficulty setting of your choice, invite a friend over the internet on the same platform, or play with someone next to you on the couch in local play. This mode allows you
I like that already. Okay. I like that you can play single player. I like that you can play against the bots. I like that you can play against online. I like that you can play co-op. all those great decisions.
You to fully customize your matches. Once you have chosen your teams and arena set, you can customize the settings for the match. You can adjust the time limit, change it to be based on a certain score reached, edit how much damage tackles do, and even customize if you want the ability to jump, sprint, dash, wall run. Those looking for a more traditional Speedball experience should pay close attention to these settings. Next is League Mode. This single-player mode has you.
This is what I'm talking about. I like stuff like this. So there's a league mode that you can play through a complete season. Do you know how many seasons I played when I played these sports games when I was younger? With if it was Madden, if it was Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball, if it was Bases Loaded, like whatever it was. Like, love it. I love that I can just do this. I miss this in Madden. Right? Madden's way more about the online now than it is about the single player stuff, even though you can still do single stuff.
Facing off against 9 other teams in a total of up to 19 matches to see who can become the league champion. Each team also has a skill rating that determines the challenge you'll face. Whether you choose an elite squad or a group of misfits, true success comes down to you and how you use them on the arena floor. Paying close attention to your player stats is key to victory, as injuries can take your
it does remind you of NHL hits. Yeah.
best players out and make the matches even more difficult. For more details on League Mode, we will be doing a deep dive into the mechanics in a later video. Lastly, there is online play. This is where you can create a custom team with your own unique name, armor style, colors, logo, and home arena. More customization options can be unlocked through various online challenges or by winning in League Mode with different teams. Compete against other players to climb the ranks, prove your skill, and face opponents matched to your level as you fight for online dominance. There are 12 teams you can play as in Speedball outside of your custom online team. Each one has its own trait and main.
Is this a buy once, unlock stuff, or is this microtransaction galore?
Tactic. The tactics are the formations you can take in a match of Speedball. For example, the blockade tactic is a defensive setup that has more players near the goal to prevent the other team from scoring easily. Counterattack is designed to absorb pressure from the opposing team and turn it back around to score goals. Balanced is the perfect middle ground for offense and defense.
How are you choosing this, though?
Pass and
Are you choosing these every time you do a tactic, or is it like up on the D-pad, try to pick and change this on the fly?
run is for keeping the ball in motion with short, quick passes between teammates and keeping it away from your opponent. Lastly, the blitz tactic is all about aggression and overwhelming the other team with more players up front. Some of these include immunity to frost or fire while also getting a boost from them, increased movement speed, and increased shot strength after certain conditions are met. If you are someone who played the original Speedball games, then you will be very familiar with the teams available. Most of them are returning from Speedball 2 with a few new additions.
Hold on, I found my team. I found my team right there. Did you see it?
Available.
Right here.
Most
watch.
of them are returning from Speedball 2 with a
The Judges. That's my team right there. I don't even own the game. That's my team right there. I'm the Judges.
few new additions. One might look familiar if you are a big 2000 AD comics fan, and Miss Snuffles Piglets, which is an ice cream vendor sponsored team that even has its own themed arena. There are 21 different arenas in Speedball that you can choose from, each with its own unique elements. 7 of them also have a brutal variant, which adds even more elements and brings the total to 28. These arenas are separated into 3 categories: point enhancers, mobility, and damage. For point enhancers, multiplier hoops give the next goal double the.
This seems really interesting. I'll be honest with you. I haven't played a game like this in a really long time. This seems like something I would pick up and play on my spare time.
Points for a short duration. Stars can give you extra points by lighting up all of them on the opponent's side of the field. Rebound bumpers give you additional points based on how many times.
Like, I'm just so tired of like the Maddens and stuff like that. It's the same shit over and over and over. You know what I mean?
times you use the bumper. For mobility, warp gates let you teleport the ball to another side of the arena, bounce pads let you jump higher, pillars can be used for wall running in a circle or as a ricochet point, and grind rails allow you to slide your way around the arena in style with a boost of speed. Some of the other mobility elements can also cause damage or impair.
The gameplay looks a little stiff. It almost like you're looking like you're using the old like NES controller and stuff like that. It doesn't look like analog controlled. Like, look the way they move, right?
Speed. Some of the other mobility elements can also cause damage or
It doesn't look like analog movement. It looks like directional pad movement.
impair players in various ways. Thumpers are similar
Come
to
on, baby.
pillars, with the exception of a thumping shockwave being put out every few seconds that can knock down anyone too close. Killtech tripwires will send a mine toward players that explodes when it gets close to them. Ice floor grates and turrets have a slow
Ron says basically Speedball's more complete than Highguard. That's right.
down effect if a player gets hit with a blast or steps on the grate. For damage, spinning hammers will knock down anyone who gets too close. Ball electrifiers will cover the ball with lightning and electrocute the next 3 players who touch it. Finally, fire turrets and grates will set players on fire, dealing damage and making them difficult to control. There's a lot to experience in Speedball. Take on your friends and destroy them with goals, brutal takedowns, and alternative scoring through arena stars. Master every team and fight your way to becoming the league champion. Battle other players online and come out on top. We can't wait for you to jump into Speedball when it releases on January 27th, 2026. Speedball will be available on Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam.
So it's been out for 2 days. Well, there you go. Speedball. Had no idea. I was like, what is Speedball? Well, there you go, chat. Maybe what guys will like it or not. Who knows? Didn't even know it came out. Good old Speedball. Game gonna have Rocket League microtransactions in it? I don't know. It doesn't seem like it has microtransactions in it. Let me see. Speedball. Speedball context. Let's see. Speed definition. It says non-medical. Okay. Alternative definition. Speedball on Xbox. A futuristic pace, violent sports game, which may include in-game non-medical microtransactions in the upcoming 2026 release. I don't know. Let me see. It's $30. $30. It doesn't say if it has microtransactions in it. That's the trailer.
What is going on, guys? We have a new game out.
I'm just going to go scrub through his video here.
Okay, you have a bench and all that stuff. Yeah. So that we can learn how to play this game. I kind of get it a little bit, but...
You got halftime. Wait. Is there halftime? Is there a halftime show?
So the goalie caught it. So it's halftime. The score's 40-0. We're absolutely killing them. Let's go ahead and look. You can manage your team.
Okay, nothing there.
Okay, so that wasn't hard at all. So let's go here, league.
It doesn't look like there is.
Select team.
But it doesn't mean they're not going to add it. And that's sad to say, right? Like, we don't know. And if it's not here now.
Ratings. I'm going to be a team that's low rated.
It doesn't seem like
Looks
there's
like
any
you basically have like
microtransactions.
a standing like. Anyway, that's this video.
So there you go. It doesn't look like there's microtransactions. So it looks like a complete game. It looks like $30. You get a enclosed. Was it 12 teams? Is it 12 teams? It is 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 teams. You get 10 teams. You get multiple arenas. You get a league. You can play online. You can play co-op. And it doesn't look like there's microtransactions in it. So Jesse Mack says if Speedball popular enough, it will have microtransactions. Maybe. Microtransactions not an issue in my opinion. It is if it's in certain games, right? Like if you're making certain things shitty on purpose and then selling microtransactions, or if you do certain game designs. Hell, we just talked about Highguard, right? Highguard has a mount. Why does it have a mount? Well, it has a mount because they made large maps. So why do they make a large map? So they could have a mount. Well, mounts also have cosmetic things that you can have. So there's certain things in the game that they put in which messes up the actual what the game is because they're trying to put microtransactions in the game, right? If you want to if you want to buy microtransactions, I have no problem with that. But I have a problem with games that literally change the style of the game or the core of the game because of microtransactions. Let's see. There's no microtransactions, no higher edition. It just seems like a game. It just seems like a full-fledged game. Yeah, if you want to buy microtransactions, cool. But if your microtransactions stop the game development process, where now they're not making more maps, more game modes, more anything else, but they just keep microtransaction storage just keeps coming through, that is a problem. Kraken says, I need a Kim Kardashian skin. Of course you do. Of course you do. Because, Call of Duty is good, but Call of Duty with Kim Kardashian is better. Actually, I think Kim Kardashian was in Fortnite, right? Because that's what I need. I need Kim Kardashian in my Fortnite. Fortnite's got everything now. Doesn't even matter. 92% of the populace gave up on the game in less than 3 days for Highguard. 92%. I'm trying to see what else. What is this? We're excited about partnering with Fail on the new Gronk Image API. Oh, for God's sakes. API, the latest in video game gen editing models. Look at this. This is all AI video game stuff. Obviously, it's made with Gronk, so they're not full-fledged games, but I don't need the music. This is all AI generated. Office chair skiing. That's crazy. I wonder how easy it'll be to make a game where it looks like this and you can just do the simplistic movement system. Like, because you don't have to make games. I mean, visually, they look like AAA games. But these games are basically could be started off as like mobile phone type of games. You know, like touch screen, you move left and right type of stuff. What the fuck is going on here? What is going on there? That's funny. Like, what was that? What's going on? What's going on with Helldivers, right? So Helldivers was completely silent about stuff, and then all of a sudden now they're releasing like multiple war bonds, like 2 weeks after each other. but they're not fixing the game. Like, what's happening there? Anybody know? Anyone playing? Is Red Second an update? Crimson Desert will feature 2 additional playable characters. Character becomes okay, here you go. Character becomes available during gameplay. Freely explore the world, undertake main quests outside of the main story. Each character has their own combat style, unique skills, and weapons. I feel like this game is this going to tell us about stuff? This came out 2 hours ago. Let's watch about Crimson Desert, shall we? Should we? Shall we? We shall.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the first Crimson Desert Features overview video. In this series, we'll be sharing information.
Hey, look, they're sharing information before the game comes out. What a weird concept.
About several gameplay features and providing a look into what you can expect when you step into the world of Crimson Desert. Today, we'll cover our main protagonist Cliff and his story, as well as the open world where your journey will take place. This is the continent of Pywell, a seamless open world.
I mean, we're going to find out sooner rather than later, Jason.
Filled with natural beauty. Here you'll find both vast wilderness stretching as far as the eye can see, and bustling cities inhabited by residents from all walks of life. As you explore, you may also come across ancient ruins and more just waiting to be discovered. But for all its beauty, danger lurks in all corners. Rival factions clash in deadly conflicts.
It's a lot of guys.
Hostile forces roam the lands. And high above, in the realm known as the Abyss, a growing mystical imbalance threatens to push the world toward chaos. This is where you step in.
Here, take these wings.
People are a little hesitant of this because of Black Desert Online, right? Because now they went from a MMO type of thing to a single player game.
Time to return.
You will play as Cliff, a formidable warrior of the Greymanes, a faction hailing from the region of Payloon. Renowned for their commitment to peace, the Greymanes have long fought for their homeland's unity and protected the innocent. To Cliff, his fellow Greymanes are family in all but name.
This might be the one game I buy that's full price this year.
And he has fought with them side by side, determined to preserve unity in their lands.
Rest well.
But we first join Cliff in the days after that peace is shattered.
Gian has fallen, and with the great leader's death, our land, Payloon, once unified, has been plunged into chaos. And now, a bloody battle unfolds between the Greymanes, who fight to uphold his will, and the Black Bear forces that seek to set it aflame.
Yeah, if I don't pick it up right away, Eclipse, I'll pick it up later this year, and I'll, $20 off, $30 off, whatever.
Your journey begins with reuniting the surviving Greymanes to rebuild the faction and reclaim your homeland. But as you venture farther, the clearer it will become that the fate of more than just the Greymanes is in your hands. Forces of greed and malice wreak havoc across the continent, while a far greater threat emerges. The gazes of dark forces are fixed on the Abyss, a mysterious realm that holds power beyond imagination. And in doing so, drives the balance of this unknown world and the continent below ever deeper into chaos. Fragments of the Abyss.
I kind of don't like how people just appear, because that's like a gameplay mechanic, like you're walking around, then all of a sudden someone just shows up type of thing.
Are falling to the lands below and lie scattered across Pywell, defeating those that seek to use these remnants, and restoring the Abyss's broken balance will be an important part of your journey.
The Abyss holds what the world itself will contain, which is why they plot to open the gate.
What's behind it?
Pure power, raw and untamed.
The moment it is claimed by a single
Sarge says, so this is the story of NVIDIA and Meta?
hand, ruin is sure to follow.
If we fail to do so, countless lives will be lost. We can't do this.
To show your game for 15 minutes, like they're showing cutscenes, you're talking about it, they're going to show gameplay, right? They're pretty goddamn confident in the game.
Naira, gather all of the Greymanes.
Consider it done.
Take focus! They're all fucking dead!
The story of Crimson Desert centers on Cliff.
This way. How's the situation?
I'm sure there'll be a mod for that, Kraken. You can get a Kardashian skin.
But as his tale unfolds, 2 new playable characters will come to join your journey.
A clip says they even said they're going to get reviews a month early access, so they can also give everything the confidence. Is that why it went gold 2 months before it's supposed to come out?
As these characters become available, you will be able to freely explore Pywell and undertake many quests outside the main story with them.
What is this, Highguard?
Each character has their own combat style, as well as unique skills and weapons, allowing you to experience the world and its battles in different ways.
Combat looks good.
Pywell is made up of 5 regions, each holding stories to be told and discoveries waiting to be found.
This is one of those games, man, like The Witcher, Red Dead, Grand Theft Auto, just open world where you can just kind of like get lost and walk around, Skyrim type of thing. Yeah, it's 3 guys, 3 people. This is why we're watching the trailer. They announced it in this trailer.
The main questline follows Cliff's journey through the central story, but questing in Pywell goes far beyond following a single path. The continent is full of other tales, interesting encounters, and hidden challenges that all shape your adventure, and you're free to take them on in any order you choose. Many of Pywell's quests revolve around the factions, houses, and organizations of Pywell. Some of these quests are grand, with large-scale objectives like reclaiming fortresses and taking on formidable foes.
Do you know how to drive a wagon? Would you take the reins and get me to the trading post?
While others are quieter, requiring you to help residents with everyday tasks.
Look at the suspension on that.
From the outset, some factions will be friendly and may give you missions.
The Bleed Bandits are raising an army of their own. And worse still, they've stolen the family spear manual. My son Graham went to reclaim it, but he's gone silent. With the rest of my men serving the Duke, I find myself in need of your aid.
Others, however, are hostile forces who are residing in or occupying the area. Roothold, originally under the jurisdiction of House Celeste, is currently blockaded, under siege by the invading forces of Gwen Kraber.
Yeah,
the area will be liberated once Gwen Kraber and Kraber's soldiers are defeated.
Yeah, but we don't know anything about Light No Fire.
Roothold is now
Is that even
back
coming
under
out
the
this year?
control
Is
of
that
its
coming out
rightful
next year? We have
faction,
no idea.
House Celeste. Enemy forces have withdrawn, and the region will now be safe to travel. In other liberated locations, the homes of rightful residents may be restored. Rewards for faction quests will be helpful in your character progression, from meeting new merchants to receiving equipment for your journey and gaining access to resources like lumber, stone, and other materials you'll need to rebuild the
I never
grain.
thought about that. Never thought about that eclipse. If that is true, that a group backed out, I wonder if it is Light No Fire. It's good speculation.
Remains home. In Pywell, exploration is more than travel. It's discovery.
What the hell?
Whether it's finding undiscovered points of interest, hidden treasures.
Oh yeah, this game is right up my alley.
Or simply a vantage
Open
point
world,
to take in the view.
explore, find shit.
There is much that will draw your curiosity to
Combat.
wander. With sights, secrets, and surprises along the way catching your attention, and no strict path, you can pretty much go anywhere that captures your interest. A trusty steed provides reliable travel, but Cliff himself can climb and even glide across distances.
Look how high the skybox is. Jesus Christ, how high are you going?
Further into your journey, you'll also gain access to
What the hell is that thing? I was already interested in the game, but now you're showing me like a goddamn mech.
a missile-firing mech, and a dragon that will allow you to soar.
All right, settle down. All right, you had me at the game just as is. Now you're showing me a mech and a dragon?
Or high above the world. On your journey, you will meet a wide variety of the continent's inhabitants as part of everyday life in Pywell. Amongst them, hostile factions and enemies each present their own threats, from well-trained...
Can you buy a physical copy of this game? Can you buy a physical copy of this game? If you could buy a physical copy of this game, I will buy it. I will buy it day one.
soldiers and sorcerers to ferocious beasts and machines that will test your combat skill and adaptability. And for those seeking a different kind of challenge, Pywell holds many mysteries. From ancient mechanisms hidden in forgotten ruins to enigmatic puzzles.
A game like this, obviously I'm going to wait to see how it comes out, if it's finished and complete and it's fantastic. But if it comes out and it's good, and I can get it in a physical copy, this is a game I would like to own.
Each rewarding keen observation and problem solving. Now, let's go over just some of the things you can discover out in the world. The Abyss is a mysterious realm brimming with secrets and untold power.
Magic Dolphin says, did you see that GTA 6 isn't doing physical right away. Is that true? That's a mistake.
Its influence stretches far beyond its own borders, spilling into the lands of Pywell.
Quintar says, will this game be on disc, though? It's true.
Fragments have fallen to the world below and lie scattered across the continent. And discovering these remnants will be an important part of your journey. You'll come across...
Now you're making me wonder, Quintar, is the game on the disc, even though they're selling a physical copy?
Artifacts, powerful items necessary to unlock and upgrade your skills. Artifacts can be earned through quests and combat, while others lie in more hidden corners of the world, waiting for those willing to stray from the beaten path. Traces of the abyss you discover will open up fast travel locations, making it easier to revisit and explore the areas of Pywell you've discovered. In time, your search will inevitably take you to the abyss itself. Venturing into its mysterious realms will put your wits to the test as you uncover its secrets and restore the abyss's broken balance.
That right there, in this game, you build Highguard, is what happens. This is like a meta game. So inside of this game, you help build Highguard back up.
For its secrets and restore the abyss's broken balance. Across Pywell lie valuable equipment and items, some tucked away in hidden corners, others guarded fiercely within enemy camps, forts, and strongholds. Many of the items you uncover may offer powerful and helpful advantages in combat and exploration. Even the smaller items you collect along the way can prove unexpectedly useful, benefiting those who search every path and face every challenge.
That's me. I like looking at every path.
The world of Pywell is rich with knowledge waiting to be uncovered, from knowledge about its inhabitants and wildlife to skills, items, and more. This information can be acquired in many ways, by interacting with characters and objects, exploring new areas, and even observing from afar. The knowledge you gather may provide clues to completing quests, open paths to acquiring new skills, or offer helpful guidance.
You know, with games like this, it's always weird because it's like you play Skyrim, you play Fallout, you play Witcher, you play all these games, and they're like so good. And you're like, man, these games are so amazing and so wide open. You're like, I wish I could play with one extra person. I wish I could just play with one extra person and have like a co-op thing. Now, obviously, you could play the game, then someone else could play the game, be on headset with each other, and you're walking around and stuff like that. It's not the same. It's like just one extra person to go on an adventure with you. I wish they did games like that, but they don't. They make them all just single player, and then when they go online, then they fuck it up in some way. Hence why I like Red Dead 2 online, because you can actually like play the game, but technically you can't play the single player game, but you can play the game with somebody and it just feels better.
That's all for today's look at the story and world of Crimson Desert. In the future, we'll be highlighting combat, progression, and life in Pywell, so stay tuned.
So there you go.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again.
Got little puzzles. Look how tall you are in the skybox. That's mind-boggling to me. Because in another video, they say you can go wherever. So that mountain all the way in the distance over there, you can get to. Like, how big is this world? March 19th. If you pre-order, you get all that stuff. So it's on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series SX, Steam, Mac App Store, and Epic Game Store. You can play this on the phone? Or is it talking about computer? It's on Apple? Interesting. That's crazy. Looks good. Looks good. Yeah, that looks like a complete game. It looks like a complete game. I'm not gonna say it's a complete game. Yeah, I'm gonna wait for reviews, just like I say to everybody else. Don't pre-order. No day one. No full price for a half-ass game. It doesn't look like a half-ass game. Okay, it doesn't look like a half-ass game. I just got to see a review, make sure it runs properly, and yeah, I think it'll be the only game that I buy at full price. But that comes out, and that kind of just shifts everything over. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, what are we going to play? We'll be playing this for a long time when it comes out. Doesn't say internet required on Steam's page, so good thing. Or it says I'll buy it on Xbox to main and PC to play handheld on the ROG Ally. Well, it might be a buy where, play anywhere type of thing on Xbox. I'm not sure. Travis says day one buy because not water will still shoot me. If not, water will shoot me. The game looks bad fucking ass every time I see it. Yeah, no, it looks great. And you know what the bad part is, Argus? And this is not what the game has done. What the industry has done to us is every time we see something that we're like, oh my God, this looks amazing. We're like, but what's wrong with it? Do you know what I mean? We're like, but what's wrong with it? Like what? Like we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. The kind of like Skyrim level of depth. Lots of explore, find hidden items. Yeah. Reminds me of like The Witcher. Reminds me of Skyrim, Red Dead Redemption type of stuff. It looks good. It looks great. It almost looks too good to be true, which I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying because of all the stuff that's happened in the past, you see certain games, you're like, wah, wah. This actually looks really good. All right, checking out what else is on. Yeah, it looks. I'm seeing more on Twitter. People just talking about it and whatnot. And by the way, that's what a game should be, right? It should be so confident that when it comes out, you look at it and go, holy Christ, this looks fantastic. I mean, that's what it should be. They announced the game in 2017, so they've been working on it for a minute. Yeah. Well, how many other games have been working on, like, Beyond Good and Evil 2? Look, we joke about it because it's been 17 years, 15 years, whatever it is. But when next time we see Beyond Good and Evil 2, we're going to be like, okay, it looks amazing. It looked amazing 7 years ago when we saw it. But we're going to be like, what's the problem? 17 years, something had to be a problem. So, yeah, the game looks... Crimson Desert looks great. If that game comes out and like is just fantastic, that's the winner, right? That is the lead of game of the year if that comes out and it's exactly what they say it is. Let me see what other games are coming out. Right, so that comes out. I'm looking at some major games, let's say in the next couple months, right? February, we don't really have anything major. High on Life 2 comes out, but that's, what it is. It is what it is. Let's see. You got Resident Evil coming out at the end of February. You got Marathon at the beginning of March. You got Crimson Desert mid-March. You got Mouse PI that comes out on the same day. You got James Bond coming out on the 27th. Oh, boy. That's a bad spot for James Bond. If Crimson Desert comes out and just amazes people, no one's buying James Bond right away. That's going to hurt them. Then you got Pragmatica coming out in April, and that's another bad thing, right? Because if you get Crimson Desert, right, you get Crimson Desert, You're going to skip James Bond. You're going to go straight to Pragmatica or Soros, right? Or Forza 6. Then it just ramps up from there. Dolphin says Mouse PI has been delayed 3 times. Baby B says Bond feels like it's going to flop. I mean, I ripped it apart when we watched it like months ago when we watched the whole thing that we just watched for Crimson Desert type of thing, a whole deep dive into it. I was just like, something feels off about this game. It got delayed. But like, I don't know. It doesn't, I don't know, something missing about it. I don't want to say Fable looks incredible yet. I'm impressed at what they've done with Fable. And they're keeping close to what the old Fable games are. I even though I'm a big fan of Playground games for their car, for Forza and stuff, I can't put my comfort in them until I actually see the actual gameplay of Fable, because that engine's not meant for Fable, right? They do a fantastic job. And what we saw last week when we watched Fable, I'm like, all right, I'm excited about it, but I'm still a little skeptic of it because they've never built that type of game before. Yeah, if Fable could deliver on the promises, I 100% agree. Good part about Fable is I don't have to pay full price for it because it's on Game Pass. So, Sarge says, do you think they would also be able to be next step at Raising of the Barbro? They could also play a game that's also solo with one other player. I think they could work. Just a small adjustment. That's a personal thing. I would love to play that game, Crimson Desert, with one other person. Like, it would be cool if we could both play it, right? Same with Fallout, same with Skyrim back in the day. I was like, I just need one more player. Hence why people are doing a mod now for Witcher 3 where you could play with other people. I think that's cool. Play a single player campaign, but you're going through with a buddy. It just makes it just a little bit better. I mean, you don't have to pay full price, Travis. You could wait. You don't have to get it. Wait when it comes out. Let's see what else is going on. How come my Twitter account is not updating? The last thing it says two hours ago. Like, what the hell? It's so strange. I don't know what's going on with my system today. Can't get chat going. That's OBS. Let me see what you said here. Crimson Desert will feature multiplayer content released after the main single-player campaign, offering a separate GTA Online-style sandbox for... Is that true? Is it online, though? Like, I'm going to go up against other people? Or is it an online where I can play and hang out in the world with one extra person? Jason says, see, Crimson Desert would be great with Elden Ring type of drop-in co-op. Yes. Yes. Hence why Elden Ring did such a good job and why it sold so well. People were like, oh, I can play with a friend? Argus says, I'm having a Fable on Game Pass, so no skin off my back if it's a disappointment. Right. Altern says that's a rumor that hasn't been confirmed yet. There's an online mode yet. I mean, it would make sense coming from them. Altern. I'm not saying it's true or not, but if that's what they said, it makes sense coming from Black Desert Online. Crimson Desert. Yeah, it says here, Crimson Desert will feature a separate online multiplayer component planned to be added post-launch rather than available immediately within the 50 to 80 hour single-player story similar to GTA Online. This mode will allow players to explore, encounter others, and engage in co-op/multiplayer activities, potentially supporting character customization and shared progression. I mean, that would be fantastic. Yeah, I don't need to read that. I just read that thing off of Google. Thank you. As long as the main game is good. Yeah, well, they said it's 50 to 80 hours of single player, and then there'll be stuff on top of that. That's cool. That's cool. All right, what time is it? 12:15? All right. We'll call it there for the Daily Grind. We'll be back tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. I got to sneeze. Excuse me. We'll be back tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, for Generation X Gaming, a weekly podcast that goes over a few of the top stories from the past week, and we rant along the way. That's right here on 30NSG. You can check out our past broadcasts over on this channel as well for 30NSG for the Daily Grind. You can check out our uploads that we did this past week. You can go over to 30 and Still Gaming and see our gameplay. Lots of different stuff. You can also listen to the music that we've created and put it on over on Spotify. Appreciate it. Everyone that comes out, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
I used to say, nah, not my thing. Extraction games, man, they all felt the same. Run, loot, die, rinse, repeat. Leave with nothing but defeat. But then I saw the lights from the sky. Metal beasts fall, and I had to try. Booted up our raiders, thought one quick round. Now I'm lost in the sound of that battleground. The dust kicks up, my pulse starts to raise. Every drive feels earned, not a waste. Didn't think I'd stay, but here I remain. Embark, built a world that changed the game. I was done with the grind, but they flipped my view. Now I'm flying high with my Raider crew. The quality hits, the polish shows. Embark made a game and it truly glows. They didn't fake it, they didn't sell hype. They built a dream and got it right. Yeah, I was wrong, I'll say it today. Our creators blew me away. Our creators blew me away. Every raid, a new story to tell. Blast of fire and chaos. Oh well, the skybox, man, it feels alive. Retro future, keeping dreams in drive. Not a cash grab, not a scam in disguise. They respect my time, and that's the prize. No empty promises, no broken core. Just pure gameplay I've been waiting for. The world feels real, the danger's true. Each fight's a moment that pulls me through. Didn't think I loved this fight, but Embark brought the thunder and light. I was done with the grind, but they flipped my view. Now I'm flying high with my Raider crew. The quality hits, the polish shows. Embark made a game and it truly glows. They didn't fake it, they didn't sell hype. They built a dream and got it right. Yeah, I was wrong, I'll say it today. Our Raiders blew me away. This ain't your average soulless clone. This is skill and passion carved in stone. Embark delivered, they broke the mold. No filler, no lies, just pure gold. Now I'm dropping down, I'm in the